Ladies and gents, how you doing? It's St. George's Day, so I thought, rather than do what everybody else is doing and, celebrate English patriotism and make everybody happy and in a good mood, I'd do what I usually do, which is drive everyone into a wild fury. Yeah, people like me, we derive pleasure from being angry, hence the term rage boner, right? I kind of like it. I kind of like cold fury to fuel my muscles every St. George's Day when I look around and see what's become of us, thanks to generations of self-serving scum that we call British politicians. So today I thought we'd watch Rafe Heidel Mancu's debate with a woman who somehow annoyed me more than any of the women in Parliament. The conspiratorially minded amongst you would assume, I swear to God, when you get to the end of this video, you will think that it's some sort of conspiracy theory. They must send out search parties to find the most annoying, belligerent, ignorant, inherently repellent people to debate normal, patriotic chaps like Rafe, just to drive people wild. Like it might drive clicks or engagement. I'm convinced they do it on purpose. Like they tell them before they go on camera, make sure you're a proper daft cow when this goes out live, love. Yeah, do us a favour. So, get ready to be driven into a wild fury. Before we get started though, I'll give you one piece of good news that I was thinking of when I watched this video, because the woman's so irritating. She reminded me of Sasha. Do you remember Sasha? That one. Sasha Johnson, you remember her? This is from a Guardian piece all about how the blokes who shot her in the Swede walked because nobody in the entire community, obviously everybody at the party was one of Sasha's kin, so absolutely none of them had give evidence to the police. So the blokes who shot her in the bonds all walked off, happy as Larry, not guilty verdicts. I confirmed it as well. She's still a vegetable and there's still been no charges filed against anyone. So no justice for the Johnson family, which means several of you are probably asking yourselves, how's this good news, Bootneck? I thought you were gonna start on a high. Well, there is some good news to this story. Every cloud has a silver lining, and I'll tell you what it is. This once young, vibrant woman being reduced to this state, yeah, it is sad. Going from healthy and hearty to head like a 50 pence per piece because your head butted a 9mm round. That photo used to upset me. It was mildly traumatising. The good news is, after watching Rafe argue with this needlessly belligerent idiot, well, it might be slightly challenging, but I reckon I could wank to it. Right then, now I've cheered you all up with the preamble. We're all in a good mood now. Got a spring in our steps. I'm sure we'll now be able to fortify ourselves so we can tolerate this woman for... I'm not going to play you 8 minutes of it. I don't want to drive you wild with rage. I'll give you the shortened version, and I will simply interject when Rafe is being far too polite. All right? I'll leave the link for you if you're a complete masochist and you want to watch the whole thing. Let's get started. Honestly, this woman, if after 30 seconds of her talking, you don't want to throw your telly out the window, you're a better man than me, Gunga Din.
It's good to see you both. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on the programme. Air of controversy. I don't know who wants to start. Let's see who wants to start about St. George's Day.
Well, you know what, Rafe is excellent manners, so I'm actually going to let you start if you don't mind.
Oh my gosh, what a civil way to start this.
I'm following you.
Trust me, it doesn't last long.
This discussion.
Let's see what
I'm following
happens.
you.
Happy St. George's Day, first and foremost. A great chant. Remember Cecil Rhodes' great quotation. He says, "Remember, sir, you are an Englishman and have therefore won first prize in the lottery of life." Unfortunately, today it doesn't seem very much like that's very much in evidence, because whilst everybody else in our society today is encouraged to celebrate their identity and their heritage and their culture, it seems that there's one exception, and that's England and the English. You know, when the...
He's very right. The Scots and the Welsh do as they please, can't they? But you're not allowed to be happy. Just as well I enjoy being pissed off all the time then, isn't it?
Scots and the Welsh wave their flags proudly. It's called progressive nationalism. Increasingly, when the English do that, they say that it's racist. And I think it's a huge shame because, you know, England really invented the modern world, from the English language to the Industrial Revolution, the mother
I can
of
feel the hairs on the
parliaments.
back of her neck prickling.
Well, it shouldn't be, because these are all just
Yeah, and she's antagonising her. This is what I'm saying. To me, I think they did this on purpose. They want to get your blood boiling first thing on St. George's Day.
factual. This is all factual. The spread of capitalism around the world. Even the way we dress, the suit is the universal form of dress. That's an English invention too. So there's so much to celebrate about England. But and strong, self-confident nations that are the most successful don't constantly navel gaze and self-flagellate about perceived wrongs from the past. They celebrate their achievements. But England uniquely isn't allowed to do so.
Okay, well, I appreciate the earlier points that you made. I disagree.
See, so she's trying a facade of acting like a civilized person, but it soon crumbles when she starts yapping.
With your latter point. So I actually find it quite ironic that we're talking about St. George's Day and we're actually referring to a Turkish man. So let's just be clear. St. George.
Right, so we'll start there, right? I'm sick of hearing this. The actually guys all over X. Ooh, he was a Turk. He wasn't a Turk. He's Greek. Like Alexander, who was blonde. And, I mean, they're all singing off the same hymn sheet all the time. Do you remember the Cleopatra documentary they made, where they cast her looking like Whoopi Goldberg when everybody knows she was a redhead? She was a direct descendant of her Greek forebears. She wasn't African. Just because Egypt's in Africa doesn't mean she was an African. But as usual, because these people are mentally ill, they can always manage to make themselves believe two polar opposite positions all the time, depending on who they're arguing with. This isn't a gotcha. Unlike you lot, we like history and we read history books instead of fictional versions of events. Everybody knows where St. George is from, and everybody knows he's not from England. We chose him because he had massive, massive bollocks. And when they asked him to denounce Christ and go back to work, he said no, so they murdered him. And he could have not done that. He could have said, yeah, fair enough, I'll go back to work then. And he didn't, so we picked him. It isn't a gotcha. He wasn't foisted upon us against our will. We know who he is, we know where he's from, and we know why we picked him. So shut up going on about it. Anyway, she blathers on about that for 3 minutes. Pointless, puerile shite that we already know. And then this is when it gets good, when Rafe tries to correct her.
Let him come in and reply.
Yeah, well, firstly, St. George wasn't Turkish. He was a Greek Cappadocian descent Roman Praetorian Guard soldier.
He was born in Cappadocia, which is Turkey, modern-day Turkey.
But he was Greek, he wasn't Turkish.
But he was still born in Turkey.
But he was not Turkish. That's a modern construct.
Right,
You can't use modern...
Guys, come on, that's not what we meant to pay Super.
But, why call it nationalism? We're talking about patriotism here. It's interesting.
They're interchangeable.
It's interesting that the Scottish Nationalist Party and the Welsh Nationalists have managed to make their form of patriotism progressive nationalism, and for some reason the same isn't allowed here. When we know, no, thank you. When we know full well that England is one of the world's 3 least racist nations, behind only Brazil and Sweden. And yet, of course, the narrative that we get is that this is a land of systemic racism and colonialism and slavery and all the rest of it. The evidence simply doesn't stack up.
No, that's
there is no country which has got...
a lie.
No, I'm sorry, this is not a lie at all. We have
It
the most diverse parliament in Europe. We have the most diverse government. We have much better race relations than anywhere else.
Let's get back to the subject.
The subject
You're going
is...
off on many tangents.
No, do you mind? Would you please let me finish my point?
Go ahead,
The point is that we have a harmonious society here in England. So nationalism and patriotism here isn't exclusive. My point here, which you've conveniently forgotten, is that this is an inclusive society. And I think it's about time that we celebrate it.
That's what patriotism is about.
I think by about the 5th interruption there, when she said that's what patriotism is about, is just about when I decided to douse my desktop in lighter fluid and take it and half the house out. That's how annoying she is.
There is a forgotten, nay, almost forbidden word, which means more to me than any
May I
other.
interject now?
That word is England. And we need to reclaim for England all of those great things that we've woven up into the British national fabric.
Thank you, Kay. I think we should bring it back to the flag. So just to kind of bring a bit more context into this conversation. For me personally, when we think about the Union Jack, firstly, the Union Jack was... Union flag. Sorry, Union Jack.
We're discussing England, not the Union Jack.
We're talking about 2 different flags and we're talking about St. George's Day.
Union
Jack about St. George's Day.
Yeah, Union flag is that. When it's on the end of the back of a boat, that's a Union Jack.
Sorry. So, Union flag. Thank you for correcting me, Kay. When we think about
Yeah, if Kay Burley knows more than you about flags, you don't know anything, do you? Kay Burley's got the IQ of a pull-along duck. When she's having to correct you, you're definitely a fucking idiot.
the Union flag, I think that is more centered around civic nationalism, which is defined as liberal kind of conservative views, equality, right? So we ended the slave trade. These are the things that a lot of
Have you noticed how polite Rafe's been as well during his turn? The man's got the patience of 10 saints, hasn't he? I'd have face palmed her off a chair by now and said, listen, Baldy, I wouldn't trust you to read the Gruffalo to a gang of preschoolers. How you blagged you onto a Sky News set baffles me.
people can kind of get behind, especially because that flag was represented in the 50 colonies that Britain colonized in Africa. So we can get behind that flag. But what happens with the St. George's flag, again, it actually has been, as you know, it's been circulated throughout many conversations over the last week or two or few days, is that the St. George's flag is very much, or has been, hijacked by far right, and therefore, hold on a second, and therefore is connected and leads to xenophobia and racism.
I'd love to see...
It leads to xenophobia and racism. Like you show a 10-year-old an England flag and she goes, maybe we should get rid of all the darkies. This is a preposterous assertion. And again, she doesn't know anything. It's an old flag. It's used all over the place. Far as I'm aware, Richard the Lionheart, one of the Crusaders, was the guy who adopted it in the first place to grant us safe passage when the Genoese navy was twatting everyone. So again, it's something we picked. We decided upon it. We know it has foreign origins. We picked it because we liked the whole idea. How can it lead to that when it can mean any number of things? It's on loads of Italian football club badges as well. It was worn during Agincourt. Then we got rid of loads of other saints' flags and started flying it everywhere because we thought it was cool. How can something with nearly 1,000 years of history, multiple different uses, from naval conflict to football teams to sainthood, how can something as simple as a red and white square lead to racism? You silly mare. Anyway, let's sum up before I launch my PC.
Where this mythical far-right
hold on a
is,
second,
you know, where I can't find them anywhere.
Therein lies the distinction between the two flags. And so if we want to talk about inclusivity, I would say we go for the Union flag, because that one is far more inclusive, far more people can see themselves in it, that representation that we keep hearing, as opposed to the St. George's flag, which has been hijacked. And it's a Turkish man. He would be an immigrant in these days.
So I've had enough. I can't tolerate it anymore. That was go watch the whole thing. He tortures her. It's not even up for debate who won that one. She just made herself look like an ignorant twat for all the world to see. And again, this point saying that England's racist, when it's not something you can debate. It's just not. Because the last 25 years have proved it to be so. You can't have a country that's let in 10, 15 million people, foreigners from abroad, in the last 2 decades. Boris letting 2 million in a year. It's been overrun, swamped with welfare queens from Africa. And then you can't now say, at the culmination of all that, oh, he was a Turk, he wouldn't be allowed in. Well, we've just let 15 million of you twats in. What do you mean he wouldn't be allowed in? You see what I'm saying? It's not your opinion. It's demonstrably wrong, proved to be so by recent history. The last 25 years proves you to be wrong. And after the grooming gang scandals and the Manchester bombing and Lee Rigby and 24 other ignominious atrocities aside, after all of that, the fact that the UK as a whole hasn't erupted into full-scale violent revolution and been crucifying people and nailing them to crosses if they happen to have a slight dusky hue about them, the fact that we haven't gone mental as a country after the last 25 years is the proof that this woman hasn't got a Scooby-Doo. So, happy St. George's Day. I hope this video cheered you up. If you take anything away from it, I hope you are now safe in the knowledge that England is a genuinely remarkable country, a nation smaller than a single US state that somehow knocked it out the park in the arts, music, science, learning, medicine, physics. One tiny little place spawned Darwin, Newton, Faraday, Florence Nightingale, the Duke of Boots, I mean, if you wanted to reel off English heroes, true pioneers and innovators, you'd be here all day. YouTube wouldn't have the bandwidth for me to upload that video. So take solace from the fact that whatever else is coming, whatever dark days lie ahead, we'll always have a glorious past to cleave to. It's better to have loved and lost than have never loved at all. And at least we had it before 30 years of self-trimming parasites ruined it all for a laugh. Oh yeah, apparently I'm having a sale this weekend. The bird who manages my merch store emailed me. So apparently you can get cheap stuff this weekend. Go and have a look. Treat yourself to a General P's Helicopter Tours t-shirt or the ever-popular Allen's snack bar merchandise and celebrate this weekend with some good-natured prejudice. Thanks for tuning in. See you all soon. Toodle pip. Cheers.